On a mild early summer day in suburban Boston, the gentle sunlight streams into a single-family home. In the living room, the sounds of a brush on canvas and tinkering with experimental equipment create a pleasant atmosphere. In the light flooding through the large bay window, Lily carefully applies layers of colorful paint. Next to her, Michael is engrossed in assembling something with his science experiment kit, with his small inventions and blueprints scattered across the floor. "Hey, look. I've almost finished my painting for the art competition." Responding to Lily's voice, Michael looks up from his experiment. "Let me see." He approaches his sister's painting with sparkling eyes. "Wow, it's beautiful." The sounds of dinner preparation drift in from the kitchen. At the kitchen counter stands Catherine, still in her suit, preparing dinner. Though she had just finished her work as an interior designer at an architectural firm, she shows no signs of fatigue as she efficiently chops vegetables while listening to her children's voices. The counter is decorated with several of the children's past works, a family portrait drawn by Lily, a model wind turbine crafted by Michael. While it might appear cluttered at first glance, the space radiates unmistakable love. Suddenly, her smartphone rings. Catherine pauses momentarily when she sees a mother displayed on the screen. She answers with a deep sigh. "Yes, Mother." "Catherine, there's an important family meeting next Sunday. We need to discuss matters regarding your grandfather. Come to my house at noon." Eleanor's voice carried its usual commanding tone. "I understand. Should I bring the children?" "Absolutely do not bring the children. This is for adults only." Cut off mid-sentence, Catherine is momentarily speechless. Looking out the window, she notices the evening sky beginning to turn red. "But if it's about Grandpa, shouldn't the children?" "Catherine, this is an adult discussion. Children are not needed." Eleanor's voice was cold and final. Catherine quietly sighs. "I understand." As soon as she hangs up, Catherine scrolls through her phone, searching for Jennifer, her trusted babysitter. Her fingers tremble slightly as she types the message. "Would you be available to watch the children Sunday afternoon? It's for a family matter." The reply came a few minutes later. "Of course." After confirming the response, Catherine returns to the living room. She gently strokes Michael's head as he remains absorbed in his experiment, then sits beside Lily, who has completed her painting. "Listen, next Sunday, Mama has to go to an important family meeting. It's just for adults."
Aww.
"We can't go." Lily's voice clearly showed her disappointment. "Can't we see Grandpa?" Michael's eyes wavered with concern. "I'm sorry. But Jenny will come over." Catherine forces a smile and reaches into her bag. And what Catherine pulls out are new art supplies and the latest science experiment kit. "These are for you too. Show me what you've made when I get back." The children's faces instantly brighten. They take their new tools and immediately become engrossed in them. Watching them, Catherine mutters to herself. "I'll do as Mother says. But this might be the last time." The evening light softly illuminates the room as Catherine surveys the space, cluttered yet warm, surrounded by her children's works. The walls are adorned with seasonal family photos, and the shelves proudly display the children's awards and creations. Here lay what she believed to be true value. As Catherine returns to the kitchen, she contemplates next week's family meeting. Should she continue to obey silently as always, or? On an early summer Sunday, under a blue sky in Boston's upscale suburbs, Catherine's car slowly advances down a tree-lined street where fresh green leaves sparkle. Feeling the tension in her hands on the steering wheel, she approaches Eleanor's mansion. The familiar white mansion comes into view. The two-story building with its elegant decorations exudes an almost surreal presence, like a stage set from a period drama. Several luxury cars are already parked in the circular driveway. Catherine frowns upon spotting Victoria's brand-new luxury SUV among them. As she parks, birdsong breaks the morning stillness. She takes a deep breath and reaches for her bag. She remembers promising the children, "I'll message you as soon as I arrive at Grandma's house." Walking along the stone path to the entrance, Catherine recalls the scene from earlier. When Jenny arrived, the children's reactions, Lily spreading out her new paint set, Michael preparing for his science experiments. Though both showed worried expressions, they sent her off with, "Be careful, Mama." When she rings the doorbell, Martha, the longtime maid, greets her. With her white hair neatly arranged to her shoulders and wearing a black uniform with a white apron, her appearance speaks to the house's high status. "Miss, everyone is waiting in the dining room." Stepping into the spacious entrance hall, she passes under the heavy chandelier hanging from the ceiling and heads to the dining room, with the staircase at her back. Martha's footsteps are absorbed by the carpet, and an unnatural silence hangs in the hallway. Opening the heavy door, an unexpected scene unfolds. At the long dining table, an elaborate brunch is laid out, with Mother Eleanor, Sister Victoria and her husband James, and surprisingly, even Victoria's twin children seated there. Sophia and Sebastian sit straight-backed in their chairs, dressed like dolls in small formal dress and suit. The table is laden with colorful fruit plates, smoked salmon, mini quiches, and freshly baked croissants, with mimosas, champagne mixed with orange juice, in the adults' glasses. At this elegant Sunday brunch, Catherine alone feels out of place. "Ah, Catherine. Finally here. We can begin," Eleanor says with a smile, her expression bearing a hint of triumph. Confusion and anger well up inside her. Catherine takes a deep breath, striving to maintain composure. "Didn't you say not to bring children?" Eleanor picks up her wineglass and answers with a light laugh. "Your children are ill-mannered and messy, but Victoria's children are special. They can sit quietly, so it's not a problem." Those words stung like a bee's sting. Next to her, Victoria smirks and says, "Well, it's all about proper discipline, isn't it?" Her voice drips with obvious superiority. The twins eat the fruit on their plates using fork and knife with perfect etiquette, as if learned from a textbook. Their profiles are beautiful yet cold, like expensive porcelain dolls. Catherine's vision blurs for a moment. Anger and sadness swirl in her chest. She thinks of her children's smiles, Lily's free expression when painting, Michael's shining eyes when absorbed in experiments. And now, this heartless scene before her. What's going on? Did everyone know? Was I the only one told not to bring children? Catherine's voice trembles. Eleanor shrugs and answers while elegantly tilting her glass. "Catherine, we all know how energetic your children can be. Today we're having an important discussion about your grandfather. We want to avoid any disruption." At the end of the table sits a photo of Grandfather Walter, next to an unfamiliar man. From his suit and leather briefcase, he's clearly a lawyer. Catherine realizes this isn't just a family meeting. It's about inheritance. And her children have been deliberately excluded. Her deeply wounded heart grows cold as ice. Catherine slowly stands up. The sound of her chair creaking echoes in the quiet space. "I'm leaving. If my children aren't invited, I shouldn't be here either." Eleanor hurriedly leans forward. "Catherine, don't be so childish. This is important. I can't discuss important matters in a place that discriminates against children." Catherine's voice was calm. "If you can't respect our family, you have no right to discuss our future." Victoria gently strokes the twins' heads with a meaningful expression, muttering, as expected, under her breath. She looks like an actress playing the role of the perfect mother. The lawyer stands up with a confused expression. "Mrs. Branson, please wait." according to Mr. Harrington's wishes. But Catherine's feet had already left the dining room. On her way to the entrance, she notices the family photos on the wall. There are no recent pictures of Lily and Michael laughing with grandfather Walter. It was as if her children had been excluded from the family records as well. Getting into her car, she rests her forehead on the steering wheel. Fighting back tears, she takes out her smartphone to message the babysitter. "I'm coming back earlier than planned. I want to do something special with the children." As she starts the engine, Catherine's expression fills with determination. "I will never again be ashamed of my children. Their creativity and individuality are not things to be suppressed." The car begins to move slowly. In the rearview mirror, the white mansion gradually grows smaller. 3 weeks later, one afternoon, Catherine's phone rings. She was checking client meeting materials at her architectural firm when she hesitated for a moment at the unknown number, but answered. "Catherine Branson speaking." "Mrs. Branson, this is Thomas Fielding. I serve as the lawyer for your grandfather, Mr. Walter Harrington." Catherine held her breath for a moment. The events of the last family meeting vividly came back to her. "Mr. Harrington strongly wishes to meet with you and your children directly. Next weekend will be the last opportunity before he moves into the nursing home." Outside the window, the summer sunlight reflected off the office building's glass surfaces, casting a dazzling light. Catherine stands up, placing her hand on her forehead. "Can I bring the children?" Her voice trembled slightly. "He especially wants to meet the children. Mr. Harrington strongly desires to see them both." The following Saturday, Catherine drove carefully. In the passenger seat, Lily carefully tucked her newly drawn picture into her sketchbook, while in the back seat, Michael protectively held a small box. On their way to the Brookline luxury residential area, the street trees' dense greenery filtered the summer sunlight. "Grandpa isn't feeling very well. But let's cheer him up, okay?" Catherine looks at the children through the rearview mirror. "Will Grandma and Aunt Vicky be there?" Lily's voice betrayed her anxiety. She had understood the "no children allowed" incident in her own way. "Are we really allowed to go?" Michael also looks up at his mother worriedly. "It's okay. Grandpa specifically asked to see you," Catherine smiles. Still, she couldn't help but notice the tremor in her own voice. When they arrived at their grandfather's mansion, Lawyer Thomas stood at the entrance. His figure in a gray suit somehow harmonized with the mansion's dignified atmosphere. "Welcome, Mrs. Branson. And children," Thomas offers a gentle smile. "Let me show you in." Inside the entrance, Eleanor and Victoria were there. They were already seated in the living room sofas, and their expressions clouded upon seeing Catherine and the children. Eleanor frowned, while Victoria exchanged meaningful glances with her husband. The twins were not present today. "So you brought the children," Eleanor's voice dripped with sarcasm. The lawyer steps forward. "These are Mr. Harrington's explicit instructions," his voice was filled with certainty. "While other children were not required, Catherine's children are specially invited." Victoria's face contorts. "Why weren't Sophia and Sebastian called?" "That's unfair," her voice clearly conveyed her dissatisfaction. "This is Mr. Harrington's wish," the lawyer repeated matter-of-factly. The butler George quietly appears and announces, "Mr. Harrington is waiting." The group climbs the heavy stairs and heads to the study on the second floor. When the study door opens, there sits Walter Harrington in a large leather chair. Though his posture was remarkably straight for a 90-year-old, his eyes seemed to be gazing into the distance. The summer sunlight streaming through the window softly illuminates his white hair. However, the moment Lily and Michael enter the room, a spark returns to Walter's eyes. His expression transforms as if the sun had broken through cloudy skies. "You came. Walter exclaims with unconcealed joy. Lily, Michael, thank you for coming to see Grandpa. The children were hesitant at first. But reassured by their grandfather's gentle smile, they slowly approach him. Lily takes out her sketchbook from her bag. I drew this for you, Grandpa, she presents her work, slightly shy but proud. Michael also presents his small box. This is my fossil collection. They're not real, but I made them using what I learned at last year's science fair. Walter receives the two gifts with sparkling eyes, examining each one carefully as if looking at treasures. Lily's drawing depicts the whole family enjoying a picnic in the park. Michael's box contains various fossils he created himself, beautifully arranged like a museum display. Wonderful. Your creativity is genuine, Walter's voice was filled with deep emotion. Eleanor and Victoria display clearly dissatisfied expressions and exchange glances with the lawyer. However, at that moment, Walter suddenly calls out to the lawyer. Thomas, show them that. The lawyer takes out a large envelope from his briefcase and hands it to Walter. The room's atmosphere freezes for a moment. Walter pulls out several photographs from the envelope. They are photos of Lily and Michael's works, and records of time spent with them. Pictures of Lily receiving an award at a school art exhibition, Michael presenting at the science fair, the children playing with their grandfather in the garden. Recently, my memory has become uncertain. So I had these important moments recorded. Walter's voice was quiet but filled with strong will. Eleanor leans forward with a confused expression. Father, what are you doing? Walter takes a deep breath and begins speaking quietly but with authority. I've been thinking lately about what's most valuable in my life. It's creativity and sincerity. And I found it, he smiles gently at Lily and Michael. These children are special. They bring me pure joy. Their unconventional thinking, and above all, they show me their true selves. Walter catches the lawyer's eye. Thomas clears his throat and says, Mr. Harrington has already completed modifications to his will. This was done before his dementia diagnosis, while he had full mental capacity. The color drains from Eleanor and Victoria's faces. Catherine is also speechless with surprise. Summer sunlight fills the room, and a moment of stillness descends. Walter slowly takes Catherine's hand. His hand trembled slightly but was warm. My granddaughter, you're raising wonderful children. I'm grateful that you haven't suppressed their creativity. For the next family meeting, please make sure they're invited. While Lily and Michael didn't fully understand the weight of their grandfather's words, they nestled close to him, comforted by his gentle eyes and voice. Catherine, fighting back tears, said, Thank you, Grandpa. Those words contained all her past struggles and new hope. Eleanor and Victoria remained silent, staring at the lawyer's briefcase. When they leave the house, their expressions mix anxiety and anger. A month after Walter moved into the luxury nursing home, Seabreeze Manor, in early August, an official letter arrives at Catherine's home. While preparing breakfast, she picks up the envelope from Fielding Law Office and reads its contents. We will conduct the formal reading of Mr. Walter Harrington's will. July 15th at 2 p.m., at our Brookline office. From the dining table, Lily's voice rings out. Mom, the toast is burning. Catherine hurriedly reaches for the toaster, wondering, but Grandpa is still alive. When she immediately calls the lawyer to confirm, Thomas Fielding's calm voice responds, This is Mr. Harrington's own instruction. He wants to clearly convey his intentions to the family before his dementia progresses. Catherine has the children leave school early and heads to the law office in Brookline. While the car's air conditioning runs pleasantly, the children talk in low voices in the back seat. Catherine had only explained, There's an important message from Grandpa, and Lily and Michael showed puzzled expressions. However, they both quietly complied and got into the car, seeming more composed than usual. Fielding Law Office is located in a historic stone building on a quiet street in Brookline. Opening the heavy wooden door, a space filled with cool air and a unique tension spreads before them. Past the reception, in the directed conference room, Eleanor, Victoria, and her husband James are already seated. The twins are absent this time. Eleanor purses her lips upon seeing Catherine's children but, unlike before, says nothing. Victoria stares out the window, deliberately fiddling with her phone. The heavy conference room table shows beautiful deep brown wood grain, with glasses of water prepared at each seat. Legal certificates adorn the walls, and an old clock quietly marks time in the corner of the room. Just before the clock strikes 2, Thomas Fielding enters the conference room with a solemn expression. His appearance in a black suit reflects the importance of the procedure about to take place. We will now begin reading Mr. Walter Harrington's final intentions. Eleanor starts to speak. Is this necessary? Father is still. We are following Mr. Harrington's explicit instructions, the lawyer quietly but firmly interrupts. On the mahogany conference table, the lawyer carefully spreads out the documents. His movements show confident assurance born of years of experience. First, he reads out the formal legal language. The room's atmosphere gradually grows tenser. The shares and management rights of my primary business, Harrington Paper Company, will be transferred to my daughter Eleanor Branson. Eleanor's expression softens slightly. Victoria eyes her mother sideways. The Brookline mansion will be provided for my granddaughter Catherine Branson and her children's residence. Sudden silence dominates the room. Eleanor and Victoria exchange surprised looks. Lily and Michael don't seem to fully understand the meaning of these words. The lawyer pauses before moving to the next section. The main portion of my personal assets will be distributed as follows. The atmosphere in the conference room grows even heavier. 60% of all assets will be established as an education and arts/science support trust fund for my granddaughter Catherine Branson's children, Lily Branson and Michael Branson. This fund is to support their education, creative pursuits, and entrepreneurial activities until they reach the age of 30. Absolute silence falls. Eleanor is completely frozen, and Victoria's face turns bright red. Catherine places her hands on her children's shoulders, wearing an expression of disbelief. Of the remaining assets, 30% will be distributed to my daughter Eleanor Branson, and 10% to my granddaughter Victoria Morris and her family. Only 10%? Victoria's voice echoes through the room. Her husband James tries to restrain her by grabbing her arm, but she shakes him off. The lawyer pauses for a moment before reading the final portion. His voice carries an unprecedented warmth. I wish to explain the reasoning behind this decision. The most valuable things in my life are creativity, curiosity, and sincerity. I have found these qualities in my great-grandchildren, Lily and Michael. They have reminded me of life's true joy and the wonder of discovery. Tears well up in Catherine's eyes. The children notice their mother's change and look up at her curiously. I highly value their free thinking and pure hearts, and believe in their future potential. This will is intended to help them maximize that potential. After finishing the reading, the lawyer takes out a new envelope. Mr. Harrington has also left a personal letter for Lily and Michael. The children timidly accept the envelope. In the conference room's heavy atmosphere, they seem to have become smaller. It's okay to read it now, the lawyer gently encourages. His voice unusually reveals personal emotion. Lily opens the envelope and unfolds the letter with slightly trembling hands. Michael nestles close to her, and they begin reading together. Dear Lily and Michael. When I was your age, adults around me always said, be quiet and behave properly. I tried to be an obedient child, but in doing so, I lost much creativity and joy. Even after growing up and succeeding in business, I always felt something was missing. It was the ability to think, feel, and create freely. The time I spent with you reminded me of these precious things. Lily's paintings moved my heart, and Michael's curiosity about science amazed me. Society sometimes demands conformity. However, true innovation and happiness come from being true to oneself. I hope this gift will help nurture your talents and dreams. But remember this, the most valuable inheritance is not money, but the courage to create and the strength to remain true to yourself. With love, Grandpa. Lily's voice trembles slightly as she reads the final line. Tears shine in Michael's eyes. The conference room is wrapped in complete silence. Summer sunlight dances on the table through the window. Catherine wipes away tears as she embraces her children. Eleanor stares out the window with a rigid expression, and Victoria makes no attempt to hide her expression of anger and humiliation. Her husband James watches his wife with a bewildered look. The lawyer quietly tidies up the documents and announces, "This concludes the formal reading." 2 years later. What was once Walter's study has been transformed into a bright space combining an art studio and science lab. Through the large windows, the garden's greenery is visible, and the walls display 14-year-old Lily's paintings, while shelves hold 11-year-old Michael's inventions. Lily moves her brush across a large canvas. Her work, which won first prize in a local young artists competition, is already gaining attention at local galleries. The painting vibrantly depicts her family. Meanwhile, Michael is absorbed in something at the experiment station set up in the corner of the room. His innovative recycling robot, presented at the Junior Science Fair, received high praise for offering a new perspective on environmental protection. Catherine spreads architectural firm blueprints in the living room downstairs. After her promotion to partner, she had launched a new project called Creative Children's Space. Her space design nurturing children's creativity has gained support from many clients. The doorbell rings. At this unexpected sound, Catherine looks up. When she opens the door, Eleanor stands there. Her expression, usually perfectly composed, shows rare uncertainty today. "May I come in?" Eleanor's voice has lost its usual commanding tone. Catherine hesitates for a moment but invites her mother in. After the will reading, Eleanor had attempted to contest the will but abandoned the effort when it was proven medically and legally valid. Since then, she had immersed herself in managing Harrington Paper Company, and her relationship with Catherine had remained cold. However, recently she had been hearing about her grandchildren's successes. Just the other day, she had anonymously attended their work exhibition and witnessed firsthand how many people were impressed by Lily's paintings and Michael's inventions. "Are the children upstairs?" Eleanor looks up at the stairs. Just then, a bright voice echoes from above. "Mom, look. I finished my new painting." Lily comes running down the stairs. However, she stops in her tracks upon seeing her grandmother. Michael follows behind and similarly stops. Eleanor stares speechlessly at her grandchildren's grown appearances. Lily's hair has grown to her shoulders, and her expression carries an artist's confidence. Michael has also grown taller, emanating the intellectual air of a budding scientist. "Grandma," Lily whispers softly. Eleanor takes out a newspaper from her bag with trembling hands. It features a large article about Lily's award-winning art competition. "I saw this," Eleanor's voice wavers. "And about Michael's science fair too." Suddenly, tears well up in Eleanor's eyes. "I'm sorry," those words resonated in the room like melting years of ice. Victoria, too, had experienced changes. Initially shocked by the inheritance outcome, she had intensified her social media perfect parenting boasts. However, her twins, Sophia and Sebastian, entering adolescence, began rebelling against excessive expectations and strict discipline. One day, Sophia boycotted a school piano competition, declaring, "I want to do what I want to do." Sebastian's grades also plummeted, and he began defying his parents, saying, "I don't need to be perfect." At her wit's end, Victoria finally called Catherine for help. "How should I face my children? They won't listen to me at all anymore." Catherine gently answered, "Start by listening to their voices and respecting their individuality." Several months later, the Christmas season arrives. The lounge at Seabreeze Manor is wrapped in warm light. Walter sits in his wheelchair, watching his gathered family with a peaceful expression. Though his dementia has progressed, he always responds with a gentle smile to the children's works and voices. Lily shows Grandpa her new paintings, and Michael enthusiastically explains his latest invention. Sophia shyly shows her own drawings, and Sebastian proudly talks about the computer program he taught himself to make. Eleanor approaches Catherine and quietly says, "You were right. We shouldn't have suppressed the children's creativity. Father, he saw that. Victoria has changed too." After allowing the twins freedom of choice, Sophia began painting, and Sebastian became absorbed in programming. "When I stopped demanding perfection, the children started growing on their own," she admits. Her expression no longer shows its former arrogance. All the children had prepared a special gift for their grandfather. It was a handmade family memory album. On the last page were everyone's handprints and the message, "We are all special, and we are all important." Looking at the album, Walter smiled as if momentarily regaining complete lucidity. "This is the family I wished for." Those words deeply touched everyone in the room. Outside the window, snow begins to fall quietly, while the room is filled with warm light. The Christmas tree lights twinkle gently, and fire burns in the fireplace. Catherine watches her gathered family and thinks, respecting children's individuality, that is true love. This conviction had become unshakable. On the album's last page is a new family photo of everyone together. It shows each family member displaying their own natural smile. Unlike the formal photos of the past, this one overflows with genuine warmth. Outside the window, the snow continues to fall quietly, as if blessing the dawn of a new era.